Alright guys, we're going to make up this little guard for the powered slider for the lathe. It's fairly straightforward. I'm going to make this out of a bit of 1.2mm sheet steel, and basically it's just got a strap edge, and then we've got basically a lid that we're going to TIG weld onto that. We've got a little bit of a cutout to do in there to work around the motor so that we can clear that, and then we've got a little foot that we're going to put onto that, and we'll mark and drill and tap into the housing on that slider to be able to bolt that into place. So look, it's a fairly straightforward job. I've got a bit of 1.2mm sheet. It's brand new. I don't like buying brand new stuff, but unfortunately the scrap stuff that was there was just absolutely roached out. So unfortunately we can't give a new bit of metal a new life. So I paid up $15 to buy this, and it's probably about 600 by about 500mm in size by 1.2mm thick, so not cheap. Because of the size of it, it's going to be easier to set it up with a bandsaw and get it roughed out, and then we'll go out to the shear, and then we'll trim it all up from there, and we'll see how we go. And as I said, I'm going to take it over to my brother's place. He's going to TIG weld that, or possibly TIG braze that on for me, just to try and get the heat down a bit in the distortion. So I'll get this all marked out on the sheet. We'll get over to the bandsaw, we'll get it roughed out, and then outside to the shear to clean it up. Alright guys, we'll see you in the tick. Alright, we're just going to trim this back a little bit of fat on it so we can go out and use our shears and clean it up. I'll tell you what guys, I had my doubts as to how the shear was going to perform, but I'll tell you what, so far I am very, very impressed. Mind you, it is rough, but it does a very, very good job. The end result is very, very nice. Alright, we'll go and cut out the cover for this now and get that on the go. Alright guys, before we go on, I will fabricate up this section here so that I can see what dimensions I've got to work to. On the lid cover I can measure them up in actual on the actual sizes. So I've marked this out. I've basically marked out the two center points, or two center lines, where the radiuses have got to be bent, and I've also marked on either side where the radiuses end. I've also marked our little cutout which goes in here and across. I've left about 35mm where I'm going to actually join that, and that is basically going to be in the middle about here is where we're going to TIG weld that those halves together. What I'm also going to do is just in the middle here I've center popped, and I'm going to do a 6mm hole just to give us a radius in those corners there. I'm going to use the bandsaw again just to cut in and along to those radiuses. We'll turn it around, we'll come back the other way. So this bandsaw is turning out to be a very, very handy piece of kit for my workshop. Alright guys, I'll get and drill these holes, and then we'll get onto the bandsaw and do this cutout, and then we'll look at doing the formers, how we're going to actually roll that around to create our radiuses. Alright guys, we'll see you in a tick. Righto, so we'll just drill through with our 6mm holes. Righto guys, I need to create a former to actually get our radiuses done for our guard. So I've got two radiuses that I need to put in. Now I'm going to use a bit of bar stock I've got here. It's pretty old stuff. This is actually measuring up at 2 inches, which is about 50.8 mil. But I need 53 millimeters on the OD to give me a proper former for what I need to come up with for an external radius. Now, the nearest material I've got to this is 75 mil. I don't really feel like machining down 75 mil to create a former for a one-off job. So what I'm going to do is try and build up the diameter with a bit of duct tape. And we'll see if we can get that up a couple of mil for our former. Duct tape's amazing stuff. I reckon if they had duct tape around when the Titanic went down, they could have saved the ship. It is fantastic stuff, and it sticks to anything. I've actually had asbestos removal guys use this stuff. An SMF removalist, when they're going in, they actually use the tape, the sticky stuff onto their skin to pull the little fibres out from anything that might be stuck on their skin if they're dealing with SMF materials. We'll just see where that's sitting now and see if that's sort of getting close to what I want. So it's being on 52 millimeters now. So I want to go up another millimeter. Alright, so about 53.2. I think that'll do us. Cut him off. And we'll set up to try and form it up. Righto, we'll square that up as best we can. And we'll see if we can form it. It doesn't come up too bad. You know what, I did mean to bend it the other way, so I had the seam weld on the other side. So, anyway. That's giving us just a little bit of overlap on that, which is what I wanted. Alright. That's worked out quite well. I'll see how that's going to fit up on the motor, and I'll see if it's close. Righto, well that's worked out really well. That's going to fit onto that. Absolute treat. We've got our clearance for our motor. Alright. What I'll do next, I'll just cut that, we'll cut that off the length so it becomes a butt joint. Once we've got that done, I can pin it together with the clamp here, and then I can do the actual measurements to make up the cover that's going to get TIG welded into place. And we've got a foot melt that we need to put onto this as well to be able to bolt it onto the side of the housing. Alright, we'll get that on the go, we'll send a tick. Alright guys, we're just going to mark out the top for this guard. So I've just clamped this side section down onto the sheet. We're just going to mark that around and create our profile. Okay, we've got our outline shape. I'll take this over to the bandsaw and we'll cut that out. Because of the overlap that's happening here, got a little bit of a dip in there, so I'll just use a ruler and we'll get that straightened up as part of it. I'll get that cut out in the bandsaw, then we'll head on over to the new shear, and we'll get that trimmed out. Alright guys, so a minute or two on the disc grinder, or disc sander. We've got a really nice fit on that now. So that's already for TIG welding. What I need to do now is make up the angle bracket that's going to come off here, that's going to screw into and fit off into the housing. So we've got to make up a bending jig first, a simple bending jig, and it will be a very simple bending jig. So we're just going to do that at a bit of angle, a bit of structural angle. Alright, we'll get a move on to that. Righto guys, we've got to make up this little angle support that we're going to TIG weld onto the guard, so that we can mount it onto the housing of the slotter. So it's going to be 33 long on one leg and 18mm long on the other leg, and a couple of fastening holes to get into it. But I need to bend this at a right angle. Now I've done these sorts of things before in the vise, and you put them in there, you try and bend them over, and then you hammer them down, and yeah, it looks pretty ordinary when you're finished. So I'm going to have a go at making up actually a folder, I guess you call it a die. We're going to make it up out of some angle which I had. I would have preferred maybe some 40mm angle. This is 30 by 30, but 40mm angle. We're going to machine in the inside here to remove the radius point inside the angle, so we get a nice sharp edge on that. And the other bit of angle, I'm going to grind a very slight taper on the web, so that when they fit into each other, I'm going to have a little bit of a gap on either side when we put this into place. So the idea is going to be I'm going to set this up in a V-block in my arbor press, pop that on top of the arbor, and then press it down and into the plate, and we'll see if we can form up a decent bend out of it. The reason for grinding a small taper on that is that it may spring back a little bit. I don't know what this material is going to be like. It may want to spring back when I get it out, and I may want to overfold it slightly. So all I'm going to do is just put some beads of masking tape down there just to thicken that up a little bit, so that it goes a little bit less than 90 degrees, and hence the reason why I want to have a little bit of a taper ground on that, so that it's not going to bottom out on the edges. But we'll see if it's going to work. It sounds good in theory, but we'll see what sort of a job it does for us. Alright guys, I'm going to get out to the grinder and get that on my disc sander, I should say, and get that angle put onto that. I can't bring the camera in, it's a little bit awkward in the junk shed I've got at the moment, so I'll go and do that now, and then we'll sit up in the mill and we'll take that radius out. Alright guys, we'll see you in a tick. Righto, we've sort of got that pretty close to where I want it, so hopefully you can sort of see the fact that that's angled back quite a bit on those edges. So as I said, we've just done that in the disc sander. Probably not the prettiest in the world, but it's the easiest way I can think of doing it. Could have set it up in the mill and done it, but it would have been a bit of stuffing around, I think. But that's done a nice job. All right, we'll get the second one set up in the milling machine, and we'll take that that radius out. We'll get the master screw. Hello, all done. We'll get the burrs off that, and we'll set up our little bit of sheet for folding. We'll see how we go. So we've got our inner edges machined on this one. We've got this one here, which is at the angle. As you can see, we're off just slightly off 90 degrees. So the plan is that we're going to sit that into a V block, pop our metal in, and on our arbor press, push that down. Now I'm going to put a little bit of masking tape or something across here just to protect it. As that metal gets drawn in, it's going to rub over that surface and scratch, so I'll just give that a bit of protection. And we'll set it up and we'll see if it's going to work. A lot more rounded off than I thought it was going to be. I'll try and put it back in again and see if we can't get that a little bit squarer. A little bit better. Well, we might leave it at that. And see how we go. Righto, well that's come up pretty good. I was sort of hoping to get a little bit more of a sharper edge on that outside there, but it's certainly nice and crisp inside there. Alright, what I'm going to do now is I'll mark these off to their various lengths, take them out to the shear, we'll cut them, and we'll set up into the mill to drill our fastening hole. Alright guys, just have to set up to drill a hole for the shaft extension on the drive. Just allow that little shaft extension to pop through the guard. Alright guys, I'm going to drill through this plate now, and often when you're drilling with these particular drills, the 2-fluters, they end up getting a bit of a vibration up and you end up sort of almost cutting a hexagon hole. And that can be averted to a certain extent by putting a bit of rag down and drilling through the rag. So I'll just cut a bit up to length. Right, let's see how that works. And that is a perfectly round hole. I'll bring you over and show you a little bit close up, with no issues at all, straight through. Don't ask me why it works so well with a rag, but it's just a little trick I got off a tradesman when I was an apprentice, drilling through sheet metal, and smooths the drill right out. Works very well. Right, that's all done. I'm going to get this all clamped together and over to my brother's, where we're going to get the whole lot TIG welded together. I think we're going to bronze weld or bronze TIG it, so that we minimise the thermal load on it. Try and get the temperature down, and we'll see how we go. Alright guys, we'll see you soon. Alright guys, so we're out of my younger brother's property out at Bannockburn, so we're getting set up to TIG this weld, or TIG weld this little guard together. So we're going to do that with the bronze stick, so just setting up the frontiers at the moment. So what size tips are you using that one, Andy?
I'm going to use a 1.6 because you're only using thin material, aren't you, Cam? It's what about 1 mil thick, is it?
1.2. Yeah, 1.2,
yeah,
mate.
So I'm just going to use a small tungsten with that and probably 1.6 electrodes.
Beautiful, mate.
Yeah, because not much heat input to go into that.
Yep, try and keep the distortion down to a minimum.
Yeah.
All right, mate. Well, you set up and do your stuff. I might point out too that Andy's probably got every ticket under the sun, being a very, very experienced pipe welder in the oil and gas industry. So and very, very good at the structural work as well.
Yeah, so I was in the trade for 24 years and spent a lot of that as a pipeline welder, doing mostly petroleum industry. So sort of pretty exacting sort of requirements for them.
Yep, X-rays in every job, like I have with my crews.
Yeah.
And Andy's now a senior designer with one of the larger fabrication companies in Geelong, doing tanks and pipeline design, still in the petrochem oil and gas industry. Lovely. Do you want me to take the clamp off and get a spot on the other side?
Yeah, we'll do that again.
Righty guys, so we've just got a little bit of a change in plans on how we're going to fabricate this. When I've manufactured or made up the cover, I've done them flush to the edges, and obviously that rules out being able to silicon bronze that because it's only going to be a little wafer that's going to be through that. And by the time I blend that in, we're going to take that weld out. So Andy's going to run down with the TIG, and we're going to TIG weld it with filler wire if required, and we'll try and get it back on track.
And just check this other side, Cam, make sure you're happy with that. It hasn't moved.
Like the tungsten?
No, that's alright, but
that's right. Okay, I'll get my little clamps on now, Andy, and we'll get him set up for the gutses.
Yeah.
I'll get a couple of tacks under him.
because I'm running on such wide amps.
Yeah, it's hard to get a scratch in it.
Yeah.
Keep him there, mate. You'll be right as rain.
Oh, okay.
All right, take your time, mate.
Yeah, so what I'm going to do, Cam, I'm just going to fuse that together. I'm not going to apply any filler to it, and that should give us a nice bead right along that edge.
Okay, and I can just go off and just put that a nice little radius on that with a file.
Yeah, should come up quite nice.
All right, mate. Do what you do best, Andy. Well, that's what Andy's setting up to do the seam now. We've put a chill block, you call it in, Andy?
That's right, yeah, and that just sort of dissipates some of the heat out of a square butt like that. And also because we're on such thin material, I don't want it burning right through.
Ah, beautiful. All right, mate. Do your stuff, mate. Righto, before we do anything further, I want to get this guard set up, popped and marked for the position it needs to go into. We'll leave it there. Now, unfortunately, this transfer punch isn't going to engage in fully, so I'm just going to eyeball its position. It's going around like a pogo stick. Looks pretty good there. Yep, I'm happy with that. Right, so what I'll do is I'm going to drill and tap that one and get this bolted off. Once I've got that bolted off and firmed off, I'll then mark the other one and do the same with that. Righto, we'll do a pilot hole first, and open that up to a tapping size for the M5. Right, we'll go down with a 4.2mm drill, so open it out for the tapping size for an M5. Alright guys, that's the perfect fit up. Right, that'll give us good protection from that belt. We'll take this off, I'll clean all this up, and I'll give it an action primer, and then we'll do some top coats. So there's a bit of scale inside this, I'll get all that off, and we'll get it tidied up and prepared for painting. So very happy with that. That's going to give us good protection. Alright guys, we'll be back soon. Alright guys, that's our guard all fitted up and finished, and it's come up really well. I'm really happy with that. It looks the bee's knees. Alright, our next little project is going to be making up a lifting jig to be able to lift this up and down onto the lathe cross slide. Got a few ideas on how I'm going to do that, so we'll get something drawn up very simply and quickly, and we'll get that on the go, and we'll get this project done and dusted, and we've got some more projects that I need to move on to. Well, we've got a lot of other projects that I need to move on to, just finding time. Alright guys, we'll catch you soon.